we're going to be years in sort of completely recovering.
Those moments, just even sitting here talking about it, yeah, it's overwhelming.
It started off relatively benign and then grew substantially into an emergency.
Today has been a very eventful and historic day. We have seen catastrophic biblical-like flooding that has destroyed roadways and bridges and put a great number of our citizens at risk, particularly along the river.
Myself and my operations officer came in at 5 a.m. that morning, and we partially activated the Emergency Operations Center. But by 12 noon, we were fully activated in the Emergency Operations Center.
By early afternoon, it became apparent that the river was going to be a problem.
It is my provision that at about 5 o'clock this afternoon, I declared a state of emergency across Greene County.
The river gauge at Embryville was destroyed by debris, which was the only indicator we had that we were going to get some type of overwhelming water wall from North Carolina.
Things got really serious really quick. Kind of caught us by surprise because, the fact that at that point, it wasn't really raining that hard here. Everybody remembers the destruction that it did ultimately cause later on that evening.
The Kinzer Bridge collapsed at about 6:33.
The water was level with it when it collapsed at 60 feet.
We had made the decision just prior to that to close all of the bridges.
And then, of course, we shut down the 80-foot bridge at the dam with it being in imminent failure. There was more water coming over that dam than you see in Niagara Falls. And for that dam to hold was a miracle.
What are you feeling right now, kind of reflecting on everything?
It's hard to go back.
I'm in Greene County at the 107 bridge on Irwin Highway. And as you can see, the bridge behind me is completely gone due to Hurricane Helene. Everyone who is living on the south side part of the river is completely blocked off.
20,000 people south of the river had no means for food, water, medicine, or means of evacuation. So for a period of about 96 hours, it was touch and go.
We essentially had one ambulance on this huge island south of the river, really with nowhere to go.
100 people, for instance, needing oxygen bottles because there's no electricity. Little things like that people didn't sort of take into account that was also going on, sort of an emergency inside of an emergency. But when the sun came up on Saturday morning, the 28th, Greene County had sustained or would sustain about $35 million worth of private property infrastructure damage. More than 15,000 customers across Greene County were without power.
We have so much devastation across the county, so we know we're going to have to open up multiple shelters for people who are having to evacuate.
I'll always remember during the point we were setting up our temporary location, lady pulls up. She was just curious as to what we were doing. We explained to her, with the bridge being washed away, we're setting up a temporary location just to serve the people south of the river. This lady just immediately just broke down into tears, and it was just like, she was like, I'm just glad that we weren't forgot about.
Well, obviously, once, the chaos kind of settles a little bit, we were in response mode till October 11th. And then we went into recovery mode, which we are still in almost a year later. And I feel like at that point, that was when our healing started.
3, 2, 1.
The recovery and the rebuilding, of course, the healing of the wounds that were created by the disaster, you know, we're going to be years in sort of completely recovering.
I think it shows resiliency because obviously facing a disaster, the quick action on the part of all emergency services, utilities, to get 70,000 citizens, you know, through this disaster.
With the information that we were given on the onset, we were prepared as we could have been in Greene County, and we adapted and we pivoted to what happened, which none of us could have seen coming. In true Southern form, you know, in the South we step up. You know, we don't wait for things to happen, we make things happen.
Churches, faith-based organizations, sports organizations, individuals, everybody had stepped up to the plate to come together.
Back when it first happened, to be sitting here and us being as far as we are, you know, just a few weeks off of a year, it was overwhelming. You know, we're thinking, how are we going to do this? How are we going to get back after so much devastation? But it just proves that we'll rise. The waters rise, but so do we.